Hello, we appreciate you being here today with us for Webinar Wednesday. Today, Senior Sales Consultant Jerry Davies is here to give you a quick tour of Library.Solution, TLC's web-based library management system. Before we start, I have a few housekeeping items to mention. The first is we are recording, so if you want to share this with your colleagues or watch it again, the recording will be available on our website starting tomorrow. But since you're joining us live, you have the opportunity to ask questions. Feel free to use the Q&A widget at the bottom of your screen throughout the presentation. Short and sweet, Jerry, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. Of course, if you've met me, of course, you know that I'm actually long and sour, but that is fine. The presentation hopefully will be short and sweet. So, Ashley, thank you very much for that. We're going to keep this, as I said, relatively brief. We're going to focus on ease of use in the public access catalog, how intuitive the system is, how attractive it is, how easy it is to navigate around. That's also very much true of circulation as well. Again, circulation is a very intuitive module. It allows you to bounce around very quickly with the minimum number of mouse clicks and keystrokes. So you can get to where you want and get back again as quickly as possible when you've got a busy front desk. We're going to dive briefly into inventory in our cataloging module. That is live in our system. And because it is all web-based, you can run inventory on a tablet and take your inventory barcode reader to the shelves, and you can do live inventory and actually spot misshelved or missing items on the shelf as you are there. The last thing we'll look at is some of the reporting that's there, and we'll look at some reporting within circulation, where I can create some very powerful lists for frontline circulation staff. But also we'll have a look at our IBM Cognos Business Intelligence Suite for some very powerful reporting tools, and we'll finish off with that. So with that in mind, hopefully I can hit escape out of here somewhere, and we can get out of this and we can go to the launch page. So we're going to start by looking at the library catalog, the OPAC. What you see here is a launch page for staff. And you have a number of options here. Those would be defined by your own privileges and by any location that you are assigned to. So again, this is very customizable. But we're going to go and look at LS2 pack, something I've prepared earlier. We'll pull it up here. So here is a typical library landing page or OPAC landing page. You'll see that what we've got here is a carousel. And this is a carousel that can be populated by the individual librarians, and they can, without having to go into the actual full administration of the system. And they can go in and they can create lists based on, they can create a carousel based on a list that they've created or on a saved search. And you can have up to 5 carousels. And those, as you saw, are scrolling through automatically. And you can look at those. And if you see something you like, you can click on it and you'll go straight into the catalog. Okay. Let's have a look at a basic search that I can do. I want to show you predictive searching, and I'm just going to type in Pride and Prej. I guess you can probably guess what's coming next. If I'm not sure how to spell things, it's going to come back and it's going to recommend frequent searches, frequent titles, and such like. I'm going to say Pride and Prejudice as a frequent search. So what have I got here? In the center of the screen, I've got my results set. I can sort that by a number of different ways. On the left, I have my facets. The first thing to notice is that there are 17 hits in the library catalog, but I also have various e-resources. We have a prescribed list of e-resources that we can incorporate, and those can be displayed there, and I could click on this and go and view those resources if I wished. Notice further down that in my case, I've set this open to format. Some libraries might even want to set it so genre is the default that opens. In this case, I've got it to format. So of those 17 items, I'm going to say I want to look at the ones that are books. So I can click on books. And now I've limited by book and I'm down to 12 results. And this is my result set here. I can look at this. I can see if it's available or not. I could add it to a list. I can look at my shelf location, and I can place a hold. Notice also I can see things like reviews. I can review a book and actually give it stars. The other thing I can do here is I can display this differently, and I can show that result set as a flow. Or going back again to the list, I can see it like this, and then I could save this as a search and save that to my account, or I could select particular copies here and I could save those to a list, or I could place on multiple holds. Okay, in this case, I don't want to do either of those things. Let's just dive in and look at an individual title briefly. So again, placing a hold is there. I've got my basic detail information there. Just going to quickly show you some of the Syndetics content that comes with this system. So again, you can have things like similar titles, similar authors, more information on this particular title, reviews and such like. All of that is coming from Syndetics, and we provide all of that as standard. What I wanted to show you here was that I can also browse the virtual shelf. So this would say, okay, if I was at the shelves right now, what would be on the shelf next to this book? As you can see, as a demo system, it's not particularly well organized. But there I'm actually scrolling through the virtual shelf, and I could select a particular title, click on it, and I would go to that title. Okay. Now, at the moment, I'm still in that results set, and I can go through and look at my individual results there, seeing what I'm interested in. And if I'm finished, I can go back to results and I can see my full result set again. Okay, so let's go through and just make a different change to the filters on this. I'm going to remove that filter for book and I'm going to look at e-resources. So now I see I've got 4 results for e-resources. And at this point, I could go in and I say, okay, I would like to download this title. TLC can load all your resources into the catalog so the patrons can go in and see what's available in all formats. And they can, as you see, filter by those formats. What I'm going to do is I'm going to download this particular copy. The first thing it's going to do is it's going to come up and say, oh, you need to log in. Now, notice what I'm logging in with. I'm logging in with not a 15-digit barcode that I can never remember, and not a 12-digit PIN assigned to me by the library, but I have the ability to go in and create my own user login. I have to log in once with the correct one for the library, but having done that, I can then create a short one. So in this case, I can go in with Nick and his password, and I can log in. And now we can go through and we can add that book. So Pride and Prejudice, I can say, yes, I want that book, or Nick wants that book. And then the system will come back and say, okay. Now, notice what I'm not doing. I'm not pushing the patron out of the library catalog and off into overdrive in this particular case. If you want to do that, you can, but this is an optional extra that we have, and that allows you to stay in the catalog. So at this point, I can say begin the download, or I can say I want to download it later. And what that will do is it'll save it to Nick's account. Nick can go home and come onto his phone perhaps and download that and listen to that as an audio later. Okay, so talking of that, let's go off and look at Nick's account while I'm here. And I've got a basic summary of Nick's account. First information there is Nick's contact information. If you wish, you can allow Nick to edit this. Notice that you can also allow your patrons, if they wish, to decide how they want to be notified. Do they want warning before overdue? I think Nick would probably want that as a text message. Arrived holds. He'll want that as a text message as well. And he'll probably want final account expiration as an email. He can set his PIN there if he wants, and we're good to go. Okay, so do that. The other things we can do here is I can link patron accounts together. In this case, Nick is responsible for Andy. Now, Nick can't see what books Andy has out for patron privacy reasons, but he can see the status of Andy's account, and he can remind them that he has some fines to pay. So we can do things like that. Account activity, I can see what books Nick has out at the moment, and any overdues. I can see what holds he has. and I can go in and see what finds Nick has. As an option, you can have e-commerce here, and then you would have the ability to go in and pay those fines if you wished. The next thing we can do is we can turn this on and off for the whole library. It's turned off by default, but you can turn it on, and you can also turn it on for individual patrons. And that allows Nick now to see all the titles he's checked out. If he turns this off or this is turned off, that history is lost forever. It's not like we turn it off and turn it back on again. Once you turn this off, it is scrubbed from the system to preserve privacy. So those are the basic things we can do there. I mentioned saving lists. So Nick's new hobby is golf, and so he's got a save list of golf here, and he could go through now that list and place holds, and then he also has save searches. Okay. Right, so let's go on from that. I just mentioned briefly, we have the ability to search by reading levels. So I could search for tigers with a Lexile score of 500 if I wanted. And obviously I can do all the Boolean searching if I wished as well. We'll leave that alone. Okay, notice also at the bottom here, you can have multiple languages. We have something like 10 different languages available, but we can always add more at a library's request. I'm going to log out of Nick's account, and I'm going to do one more thing here, and that is I'm going to show you that we have a fully customizable online borrower registration form. And so in this case, you can go in and you decide what information you want to pull from the patron at the online level. You can also allow patrons, if they have a Google sign-in, to sign in with that, and that authenticates them. It doesn't store all their data, but it does authenticate them. So I can do things like that. Okay, let's move in. I'm going to look now at Kids Catalog, and we'll take a look at that. So we'll go up here, and I'm just going to go to LS2 Kids. So LS2 Kids is for your emerging readers, kindergarten, pre-kindergarten, first, second grade. Emerging reader could also be a reader whose language is not English as a first language. So what we have here is we curate these collections. So we've curated series and chapter books. If I'm interested in Pete the Cat, for example, I'm now taken into all the Pete the Cat books. It will only display the Pete the Cat books that you own, but we have all of the Pete the Cat books there in the collection. Again, it will only show the ones you own. And it's very easy to see what's in and what's out, displaying Lexile and accelerated reader scores as well. This book is out at the moment, but I want it. I can just click there and I can say, oh, do I want this when it's checked in? Yes, I can say yes and check that book out. I can click on the title and I've got a very simple display here. If I want to have things like teaching books, I can. And I've got a very simple display here for that title. So that is an ability to scroll through. And again, these will always display in publication order. So if you're interested in following a series, that's very easy to do. Notice we've got Pete the Cat here sitting outside Scout's doghouse. We can also provide the ability to search by categories. And again, we've got a large number of categories here. Again, the categories are populated with titles. They will only display the titles that you own, but they are all there. So we've got Halloween coming up at the moment. I can click on that. And now I've got all my Halloween books and I can scroll through those. Notice again, if there is a Lexile or an accelerated reader score there, there's an accelerated reader score there and Lexile there. So we can do things by categories and by chapters. We can do different languages as well. One thing I didn't show you in the adult pack that we can do is sounds like searching. So if I just typed in dinosaurs, it's going to come back and say, oh, did you mean dinosaurs? Yes, I did. So I can do a traditional search as well with sounds like searching. And if I'm into dinosaurs. Okay, so that is a brief overview of the catalog. I will mention, but not just really show you, TLC Go, which is our mobile app, and that allows you to do searches. If you want something more sophisticated than just the responsive design that we have in our own catalog. Our standard catalog will display nicely on any smart device, but if you want an actual standalone app, we have one with TLC Go with lots of features in that. Okay, let's move on. let's move on to the launch page again. And as a staff member, I'm going to launch LS2 staff, which is our circulation. Now, what I wanted to point out here is as what I log in or who I log in as defines my privileges. We have very granular permissions in all of the modules, but especially places like cataloging and circulation. What I want to show you here is just the speed with which I can navigate around the system. Now, I'm going to tell you when I touch the keyboard or when I touch the mouse, but I'm going to check out some books to someone. I'm going to check out some books to somebody else without touching the keyboard, not once, or the mouse. So I log in. There's Sophie Davies, or Sophie Troyer as she is now. That's my daughter. She has a couple of titles out at the moment. Without touching the keyboard or the mouse, the system is waiting for me to check out some books. So I'll do that. Okay. Now the system is waiting for me to check out another book. I'm not going to do that. Sophie's done. She's picked up her books and she's walked out the door. So I can just go in, wand in myself, and now I appear there and I can start checking out books myself without touching the keyboard or the mouse. Now, I'm going to go and press one key or two keys, and I'm going to go to check in. You see at the bottom there, I can use my mouse to check in, or we have function keys. I can hit F3, and now I can go back and I can start checking in those titles. Notice we've got in-house use and special status for lost or damaged items. Change the check-in date if it's a book drop, for example. But in this case, I'm just going to go in and I am going to check out those items. Okay. So I've checked in those items. At any point here, I could go in and look at one of these particular titles and see more about it. Now, I'm at check-in at the moment. Okay. I'm going to wand in a patron. I went straight to that patron. Again, without touching the keyboard. I've touched the keyboard once. That was to go from checkout to check-in. When I checked in, the system was expecting a book. Instead, I got a patron. It immediately took me to that patron. Here's Dina Davies, and I like to pick on her. Notice, I'm going to take you on a brief tour of her account here. Notice we've got the basic information here, and all of these fields are URLs. Anything important is also highlighted here in this block screen. So she has a balance that displays here. She has an arrived hold that displays here. She has a problem with a relationship block. She's responsible for somebody else. Looks like she's responsible for a dog. And obviously that dog might be blocked. So you can set the system up if you wish to allow blocks on family members to affect the main account if you wished, and various other permutations. So there's the basics of Dina's account. Now I can go in here, I can go to address change, and I can change that. You see here, I've got two addresses, and I could go in and change an address, for example, here, Hollow Beach Marina. She is living as her other address on sailing vessel Amara. So I can go in and save that. Notice here on the basic information, though, that I can have up to 3 email addresses. If I was a child, for example, potentially I could have a parent being emailed any notifications. Notice also we've got a mobile number at the bottom here, and Dina can choose if she wishes to have notifications text to her instead. Here's my basic information about Dina, along with the responsible parties and any comments they may have. We can also add extra information, and this can be anything you want. These can be additional, almost an unlimited number of custom fields that you can create and add to populate the patron record. Talking to the patron record, notice I've got some basic statistics here and history on that account. When it was created, when it was last active, how many items have they lost, how many checkouts have they had, and all the rest of it. I'd mentioned settings earlier, and I can go to settings, and this is where, as a staff member, I can help Dina to set her preferences on how she wants to be notified. So a cancel hold, perhaps she wants to have that as a telephone, and we can do that here. Also, we can decide whether we want to have payment slips and checkout slips emailed or printed. And then I can decide whether I want to record payment history and loan history. And again, loan history can be set up for individual patrons. Okay, talking of loan history, there is our loan history in the circulation module. Again, your privileges as a circulation staff member may or may not allow you to see a history. Okay, so with that, let's move on and we'll finish off on a couple of other points here. What I want to do now is to take you to the transfers. I'm going to save those changes. And I'm going to take you into staff services. What we can do here is, if I go back to Dina's record a minute, I can go to checkout. Notice I'm still back here at checkout again. I can find out more about that title. There's all the information about it. From there, if I wish, I can go in and view the holds queue for that title. I could go in and see it in pack, or I could go and pull that up in cataloging if I wished as well. Other things I can do here, we have an electronic hold shelf, and that will display all my holds by days on the shelf, who's it pending for. I can relaunch notifications. I can move people up and down the queue. I can cancel things, and I can print new notifications or new wrappers for things. Also, I can do item transfers, and I can move things from a owning collection to a circulating collection. So my Halloween books might be in a juvenile nonfiction collection at the moment, but I could move them into a special circulating collection of Halloween titles for a couple of weeks and then move them back. One last thing I want to show here is lists and actions. Lists and actions is the ability to go in and create lists of titles, and I can do that as a staff member. So in this case, I could go in and say, oh, this is a search. Clive Cussler top circs. This is a list, a historical document, and I can easily click on that and it'll take me through and it'll launch that search. These are very easy to create. I'm going to show you the very briefest of ones here. I'm going to add begins thing, and I'm just going to search for Pico. I'm going to add a filter of checkouts. And I'm going to say I want Jodi Picoult books that have been checked out more than once. And I'm going to say I want that in a particular location, and I'm going to make this in the location of the main library. And I run that search. Notice how quickly it arrives up there. I've now got a list of titles. I can click on these individually and look at them, or I can select them all and I can save them to a list, or I can export them to a spreadsheet. So again, a very powerful reporting tool, very easy to use, takes 2 or 3 minutes to learn, and you have that within the circulation system for frontline staff. Okay, with that, we'll go off and we'll look at one more thing. I'm going to do one more search here, and I'm going to do a search for a ISBN. I couldn't find it. It's not there. I did a smart search. I'm going to add a new title. Depending on my privileges, I may be given access into cataloging to create brief records or do on-the-fly titles. Our system is designed to stop you creating duplicates. So it's going to prompt you for a standard number, and it's going to try and find out whether we already own that title. No, we don't. But our cataloging service, its mark, TLC started as a cataloging system, does have that, and I can go in and publish that. And with that, I'm now dropped into a very simple but very powerful interface for cataloging. If I wanted to, I could generate a barcode there and save that. And then I could go off, add a collection code. And now I can go in and add my physical items. I can look at my enhanced content, and I can publish that to the catalog. The other reason I wanted to show you here was inventory. Within inventory, we have the ability to do live inventory. Here I am in a nonfiction collection. I can start an inventory, I can pause it, I can come back to it this afternoon, I could come back to it next week. I could have multiple people working in the inventory at the same time. I could have 2 people at opposite ends of a shelf working their way to the middle, stop for lunch and carry on. I can also have the ability to go in and do an inventory of multiple collections on the same shelf. I can also have the system alert me if there's an incorrect shelf location, and I can automatically charge overdue fines. So with that, it's very easy. I can just go in and start checking out titles. You see, I've inventoried these already. Maybe I found one that's in the wrong collection. Oh, incorrect collection. So I can go off and do that. The point is here that with inventory control, this is live. You're not creating a list, going back, downloading it, printing it out, coming back the next day and dealing with it. You're dealing with it live on the shelves. I'm doing that because both circulation and the cataloging module work really nicely on tablets. They've both been designed to work well on tablets. And with a little Bluetooth scanner like this on a lanyard, I can go off to the shelves and do inventory, or I can take my tablet, for example, and a barcode like this, and I can go off to a farmer's market and register new patrons or be a roving librarian. Okay. So with that, let's leave out of that. And I'm going to go back to LS2 launch page, and we're going to look at one last thing here, and that is reports. As I mentioned, TLC uses a business intelligence suite from IBM called Cognos. It is the most powerful reporting suite available, I think, in the library world, and we are very proud of it. We have over 300 standard reports in the system. I'm just going to close this quick launch thing down here. I'm just going to give you a brief idea of what's involved here. So each one of these a is a menu. If I look just at borrowers, I've now got submenus. If I want to look at activity counts for borrowers, I go into that. Now I've got all my reports there just for activity counts in borrowers. I could go back and look at items out, and now I've got all my reports for items lost and out. I can go back to team content, and I've got all of these other folders here. One of the folders that I think you might find useful is a dashboard. We're working very hard on dashboards at the moment. And so circulation staff at the front desk can come in and they can have a brief look at what's going on with their borrowers at the moment. So there's the breakdown of borrowers by borrower type. I can look at a breakdown of my items, and I can see how many items I have per collection and how much of my physical and electronic materials are being circulated at the moment. What the status of those is, it checked in, checked out, and who's checking books in and out today. I can also go to the circ desk. Again, that's not going to work too well because this is a demo system, but I can also go and look at my holds and see what's in transit and what's pending. So very powerful dashboards are available in the system. I'm going to go back to content again. So a lot of team content, 300 reports. What you want to be able to do, however, is go to my content and create your own reports. So this, as a user, you can go in and you can create your own reports that you want to keep, and you can go to that and run them. So in this case, if I wanted to look at reports paid and waived, I could run this report, but also what I can do is I can go in and look at the properties for that. I can go to a schedule or even a schedule, and I can create a schedule for this. So do I want to run this weekly, monthly, yearly? I'm going to say I want to run it weekly. I want to run it on the second Tuesday of the month. I want it to run with no end date. I have options I can set for it. I want this to be a PDF and also Excel data. I want to deliver this as a report, and I want to send it by email. And I want to send it to the following people. Let's send it to Preferences Administrator. And then I could add a note, save that, and this report will run automatically on the second Tuesday of the month. It will be sent as a PDF and as an Excel spreadsheet directly to these people, and they will receive it in an email, and that's all you have to do. You set it once and you forget. You don't need to worry about it anymore. That's on top, of course, of accessing the reports module directly. Okay, the last thing I want to show you there is within my system, I can log in with my reports and I can see my own schedules. So here I can look at my schedules and I can see all the reports that I have scheduled and any that I've got disabled at the moment. So I can keep a track on the reports that are being um, broadcast to my staff so that they get the information they need. So there's the basics of the system. There's an awful lot more to it than this. But again, reports is a very powerful tool for us. And I think you'll find that quite a useful addition to a library system. So with that, I'm going to pass it back to Ashley and we'll go from there.
Thank you, Jerry. And one thing I did want to mention, Jerry, you showed off your really cool Bluetooth scanner. That's actually something that we sell here at TLC. So if you're interested, go to tlcdelivers.com and you can find out more information on how to get that. Yeah, backgrounds are always a little tricky
Yes,
with
they are a little bit tricky, but
green
that's a
screen.
really cool little tool. And it's on a mine is on a lanyard, so I can hang it around my neck and just pull it like a badge where I have to stretch it.
I
So yeah,
wish I had something like that when I was at library.
I get so many oohs and ahs when I go into demos with that.
Well, I want to thank everyone again today for being here. I'm going to launch one more, or just one poll for today, and it's just a little information. If you're interested in more information, or would you like to talk to a sales representative in your area to learn more about Library.Solution or one of our other software solutions, Library.Solution for schools or Carl.Solution for large and libraries and consortia, just let us know. Otherwise, thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you, Jerry. And we
You're
hope you
welcome.
all have a wonderful afternoon. Don't forget to visit tlcdelivers.com/webinars to see this webinar and past webinars and upcoming webinars from TLC.
Happy Wednesday.